The Orange Man Bad protests are happening and nobody seems to know why.
We begin tonight with the hundreds of anti-Trump protests right across the United States and here at home. No Kings protests. That's what they're calling them south of the border this weekend. Even in Washington, D.C., on the same day, Donald Trump is flaunting the country's military power at a parade in their nation's capital. Let's bring in CTV's Kimberly Fowler with more on this. And Kimberly, similar protests are happening north of the border as well, including here in Ottawa.
Yeah, that's right, Austin. In the U.S., the organizers say these No Kings protests are taking place in nearly 2,000 locations nationwide. Here in Canada, since we have a king who serves as the head of state, demonstrators are calling the rallies No Tyrants protests in response to Trump's recent actions.
Of course.
Hundreds of protesters gathered here in Ottawa on the York Steps just off of Sussex Drive outside the U.S. Embassy. Now, the demonstrations are against the U.S. President Donald Trump's policies and rhetoric. Rallies simultaneously happening all across North America. Well, they come after days of demonstrations against U.S. federal immigration raids, where Trump deployed the National Guard and the Marines in Los Angeles without the consent of the California governor.
Protests against his policies and his rhetoric. Very specific. These people really don't have any idea why they're protesting. Trump deployed the Marines because Los Angeles has a very incompetent governor and mayor, and they are allowing riots to happen. All of this because Trump wants to deport illegal immigrants who shouldn't be there in the first place.
Well, if I can be honest, I'm terrified. I'm up here, I'm safe for now, but I feel like a lot of people in the U.S. understand that what's happening in the United States right now is very similar to what was happening in Germany in the 1930s.
As a dual citizen, I am extremely concerned that the country that I lived in for most of my life is under a dictatorship. And my concern is that he will take over Canada.
These people are complete idiots.
Canadian protest organizers say peaceful No Tyrant rallies are being held in solidarity with the U.S. protests and in reaction to the Trump administration that has cracked down on free speech, detained people for their political views, and threats to deport American citizens with military force. Now, today is also Flag Day in the U.S., where in Washington, the U.S. Army is celebrating its 250th anniversary on what also happens to be President Trump's 79th birthday, all at an estimated cost of $45 million.
Taking over Canada. People are pointing the blame at Trump instead of our weak liberal government. Trump wanted Mark Carney as prime minister for one reason, because he's weak, and he's going to walk all over him, and that's what we're seeing right now. Don't blame Trump. Blame the liberal voters.
You're looking at Los Angeles. Demonstrations are happening right across the United States today to oppose the Trump administration. This movement is called the No Kings movement, and it comes after days of protests over federal immigration raids, including, once again, those in Los Angeles. Organizers say rallies are happening in about 2,000 locations across the U.S. Journalist Steve Futterman has more from one of those rallies in L.A.
This is one of around 30 protests that are taking place throughout the LA area today, but this is the main one. We're right across the street from City Hall, and you can see behind me, lots of people have gathered already. Don't know how many people they expect. It could be thousands, it could be up to 10,000. We just don't know. Let's take a look, though, at some of the other protests taking place around the country. Let's go first to some video. These are protesters in Mar-a-Lago, near where Donald Trump lives in Florida. So you have protests there. And let's now go back to Philadelphia. You can see some of the protests there as well. Really every major city having protests today. And let's take a look now at some protests in Atlanta, in the South as well. So they're going to get thousands and thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands when you add everyone up today at these protests around the country. Obviously focusing on Donald Trump, the No Kings moniker, referring to the fact that many people here believe that Donald Trump has taken too much power over the powers that a president should have in this country. And of course, here in Los Angeles, it's sort of being combined with the anti-immigration raids, protests against the immigration raids that we've had here the last week.
And so the people attending these protests, what are they hoping to accomplish, Steve?
They don't know.
Well, they, like any protest, Natasha, they want to send a message. They want to show large numbers. Much of this is optics. They want people to see that there are lots of people against Donald Trump. Now,
what's amazing to me is it seems to be acceptable in North America that people can come here illegally and suck money from the taxpayer. When someone like Trump stands up and says, no, it's his fault. He's the bad guy. If somebody comes to a country illegally, they need to be deported. It's simple.
Let's go and talk to someone who's here for the first time, her first protest. This is Christina Jobert. And Christina, you told me this is the first time you've ever attended a protest. Why this one, and why did you decide to be here?
I think because, like our country is suffering right now. I think people are suffering, and it doesn't really matter who you voted for. Everyone is afraid, everyone is suffering, and we're fighting, and I'm here to stand for love. I'm here to stand for compassion, for humanity, for people treating one another like humans again, rather than like animals.
Again, why are you
and here? I know a lot of people are here against something, but I do think there needs to be some people that stand for something, and I just want to save what we love in this country.
And tell me your thoughts about the Trump administration policies the last few months. Have they bothered you?
Yeah, I think they have, but they bother me because they cut to the core of what makes us human, and they force us to lose our ability to respect each other and show compassion and love for each other. And I think there's policy, and then there's the tactics, and I think the way we're going about it hurts a lot of people, hurts us as humans, and then it takes away from the message overall.
So that's Christina Jobert, her first protest. See what she experiences today. Now, there is a large law enforcement presence here. Like I said, across the street, City Hall, we have a large contingent of LA sheriff's officers here. And behind us, one of the streets behind us has been completely cordoned off by the LA police. So they are here to deal with any problems if there are problems. The organizers of this protest, though, have urged people to stay peaceful. Obviously, there are people with amped up emotions today, and the organizers hoping it will not devolve into any confrontations like we've had here the last week.
Journalist Steve Futterman in Los Angeles.
So this woman had no idea why she was there. She was standing for love, protesting just to protest. I bet you she couldn't even name one policy. Everyone has the right to do it, but pick a cause that makes a little bit of sense. And I think, too, if you are for illegal immigrants in your country, you should pay for them. Don't ask the rest of us to do it. That's it for this one. See you in the next one. Bye.